Welcome back to the Coruscant Knights podcast. We're very happy to have you here. My name is Cooper. Alongside me, as always, is Mark.
Hello there.
And Jack.
This is the way.
Yes.
Awesome.
A Star Wars line. How long we've been waiting?
Too long. We've got a great episode for you today. We are going to be discussing our best moments from almost every Star Wars project. We're not going to be doing Resistance or Visions because we either haven't seen all of it or haven't seen it at all. So it wouldn't be fair to choose a moment from them. But we are going to be doing all the movies, all the live action shows, and the rest of the animated ones. Shall we get into it?
Let's
begin. Do it.
Yep. We'll start with the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Who's going first?
Mark,
I think
you
you
should.
Me? Alright, no problem. Well, my choice for the Phantom Menace I think is going to be pretty well known. And it's the Duel of the Fates, both the music, because it adds so much just emotion and character behind the fight, but also the fight itself. I mean, if you think about it, chronologically speaking, this is the first lightsaber duel that's happened in probably hundreds, if not thousands of years in Star Wars. So just the emotion and the impact that it has on the storyline is just phenomenal. And I think we can all agree it's one of the better scenes of the Phantom Menace.
Maybe if only the best.
Yeah, I've got no complaints. I've got no disagreements with you. It's definitely got to be Duel of the Fates. It's pretty excellent. All right, Attack of the Clones. Next one.
What about
Unless
that?
you want to mention.
I'll mention
Phantom Menace.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't really picked up already, mine was also the ignition. I wrote down Darth Maul ignition, where when the first doors open and then he ignites the lightsaber. I thought that really set what was about to happen. My other bit more out there one. So we know that some people do love the pod racing scene. I, for one, not the biggest fan, but maybe if I grew up in the at the time and watched it in the cinemas, I might have whoa, this is so unique and different. But the one I actually picked was building the pod racer. The part when Anakin, I know the Jar Jar bit was a bit silly in there, but I really loved just seeing something so different, like a pod racer we've never seen, but so similar to a car getting worked on or some sort of racing vehicle. I just really loved that, and how his friends were on the side going, yeah, let's help him and do all this kind of stuff. And then you got in that pod race kind of scene just after, you got Wizard. So how cool is that? Wizard.
Wizard.
Yeah, so let's I think that's a bit of an underrated scene, but definitely not the best, because obviously Darth Maul is just...
You can't top that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shall I begin with the
Attack of the Clones?
Do it.
Alright, so...
We should have differing ones here.
Yeah, with this one's... So this one I really, really can't wait to talk about, because I really think it's a scene that doesn't get talked about that much. I would call it a scene, but it's more like a montage. So it's actually the part when Anakin's on Tatooine and he's going to go find his mum. When he gets sent off on his own, when he goes, I have to go find my mum. And he goes through and he gets him talking to Jawas and all this kind of stuff. And you've got actually a bit of the Duel of the Fates returning. And it parallels kind of showing that this is another turning point for Anakin. Like when the first one in Phantom Menace was, if Qui-Gon survived that, everything could have changed for Anakin. And this is another bit where it kind of if his mum was freed before, or if he came earlier, she wouldn't be in a situation that could have changed his emotions again. But hearing that and then seeing his kind of switch when he finds his mum, and then obviously killing the Tuskens is such a impactful different thing, and it shows where he's kind of falling, and it's just unreal.
What I love as well about that sort of montage of scenes, as you put it, is how the lighting changes as well from day to, and it gets darker and darker and then when he gets to the Tusken Raiders, it's night.
Yeah, unreal.
Showing again that changing character.
Not a lot of apart from when he goes to his mum, there's no what's it called, communication or verbal written script at all. It's just him and his emotions, and you see the collage of where he's stopping through, and it's unreal. And honourable mention, don't know if it's going to be... you know what? I might save it, because if it's someone else's, then I don't want to take it. So, let's go.
Right.
Do you want to go?
Sure, I'll go. I'm going on the same sort of topic as last time. I'm going to say the duel at the end with Count and Obi and Anakin, and eventually Yoda.
Unreal.
And actually, I wanted to mention just first of all how I find the whole movie to be a bit underrated. Attack of the Clones.
100%.
It's honestly up there as one of my more favourite ones, which... I feel like a lot of the community doesn't actually hold that opinion. Yeah. So I actually kind of found it difficult to pinpoint one exact moment. So that's why I've just gone with the climax of the film, with the duel and and even seeing Count Dooku for one of the first times.
Very powerful.
Yeah, with the Sith Lord and using his strong force powers in a different manner to the Jedi.
Yep.
And even, again, with Anakin, how his character changes again after he loses his arm. So,
Nice. I've gone for a bit more of an obscure moment. I mean, it's probably not one that I don't think anyone would pick as their favourite. I didn't want to pick the obvious one, like in the Colosseum.
Yeah.
I thought it was good, but I kind of preferred the moment leading up to it, which was in the droid factory.
I had that written down.
Anakin and Padme, and them kind of... They were working together, but also
Obstacles.
separately doing their own thing. But I just thought it was pretty innovative in the way that they were kind of... It wasn't a traditional
Scene.
person or villain or enemy they were fighting. It was like they were fighting the factory.
Like the
It was kind of weird. And then you got C-3PO and R2-D2 being comedic geniuses, so you throw them in there and it's a great scene.
Also like to mention that this scene and level was so fun to play in the complete saga.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's why it was so memorable for
I
me
kept
to
dying
play.
as R2-D2
Yeah, when he's
because you
trying to use
couldn't...
his
Yeah.
And then the R2 scream as well.
Yeah.
But every time I think of the droid factory scene, all I think of is when C-3PO's body and head gets switched with the battle droid.
Yeah, that's very fun.
So honestly, that was my honourable mention too,
there you go.
because it was just so imprinted
I'm glad,
in my
I'm glad
head.
you didn't say that at the start
Thank
then.
gosh.
Yeah. Alright, can I go Revenge of the Sith first?
Sure.
Let's do it.
So again, I feel like you might have this scene.
Maybe.
I don't think you will have it. Look, Revenge of the Sith, great scenes. We've got Anakin versus Obi-Wan, Grievous versus Obi-Wan. Some great moments. I've gone for something very, very low-key, but very, very impactful. And it's Padme's ruminations.
Yeah, I like that as well,
Nice.
actually.
And that is the moment where Padme and Anakin are looking at
The
each
windows?
other from the Jedi Temple and the apartment. And they're just looking at each other, and there's just so much emotion.
The
and
music.
I remember seeing a comment on a YouTube video saying it was like a calm before the storm moment. It's like,
Everyone
this is
knows what's about to
Anakin.
happen.
It's like they're both two lovers that just can't be together. They're just
the
being
reasons.
forced apart by others that just, they're not letting them be together, and that's all they want to do.
And ironically, it's the impetus for Anakin that he wants to be together using Palpatine, who told him he could keep Padme.
And I think almost this is like Anakin's realization that I've got to save Padme. Yeah.
That is actually, I want to follow up on that because that was exactly my one too.
Oh,
was that scene. But I did have a second one. This is why we all joked around together actually before when we pitched this idea for the podcast YouTube video was we're going to have a lot of similar scenes and Revenge of the Sith, everyone's going to pick the final battle. But I actually had that moment, and this moment was the two that I would like to talk about, which was actually Anakin killing the Separatist leaders on Mustafar.
Yeah, great moment.
And that scene starts with obviously him closing the doors and then the Darth Vader music happening, and then they're begging for their lives, and then by the end, which is where I cut it off, is where he's crying looking over the lava fields, which I think is also just another very emotional scene where he's like, he's known what he's done. This is after the younglings, this is after the temple slaughtering and stuff, so it's kind of like I've gone so far already in so little time.
Yeah.
So that was the two scenes that I wanted to mention.
Kind of had a feeling none of you would pick this, even though I feel like both of you should, was the fight between Obi and Anakin. I think it's obvious and someone has to mention
It's the best one.
the repercussions of it, but even just the whole action and choreography itself of the fight, and the fact that it went on for such a long amount of time compared to the others.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so engaging and everything. But I had also another small mention of Palpatine's speech to the Senate and the fall of the Republic and the rising of the Empire.
He loves that.
I love it so much. I just had to mention that as well.
Yeah.
I thought those two probably are some of my favourite scenes from that film.
Do you want to kick us off for the original trilogy?
Alright, well, A New Hope. One of my all-time favourites again. Found it kind of hard actually to pick a specific moment.
Same.
So what I did is I picked one that I feel like in terms of actual filmmaking was a really great scene, which is when Luke looks out into the sunset of the twin suns and it plays the Force theme, and Anakin's just Luke's just looking out into the sky,
hoping for a different life.
His dreams of escaping Tatooine. And I feel like it shows his character that he's been stuck on this farm in the middle of a desert for his whole life.
Yeah.
All he wants to do is go and explore. And little does he know what's really out there waiting for him.
Very well put.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
That's actually a really good one. Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So I've gone the Mark route for the past one and done a pretty obvious one. I love the trench run and the blowing up of the Death Star. So the reason why I put it in this one and obviously not as you guys will figure out, I didn't use it as the other one for the other Death Star. But I just loved how it kind of concluded the movie on its own and felt like its own unique thing while also trying to set up the future ones, which I think some of the sequel ones kind of set up the next one instead of capping off their own movie with their tone from start to finish. And obviously it was because it was meant to just be a one and done kind of thing with Star Wars. But unreal ending. Them kind of using this kind of technology of not CGI but building the model props and making it look miniature in a big scale was just unreal from ILM. And just overall great use of character development with Darth basically about to kill his own son.
Have you now?
Yeah, and Han coming in saving the day, Luke using his Force abilities. So it's just unreal mix of everything.
I had the trench run as well as a sort of mention.
So I've gone very similar. Yeah. I'm gonna kind of put it down. I did have attack on the Death Star.
Okay.
But I'm gonna change the concept because I like the whole ending scene, but the preparation, getting ready for the attack on the Death Star in Yavin 4. I think that's probably my favourite moment just because you get the vibe, it's like, we're off to war, let's go fight, let's go up against these insurmountable odds and let's go take down this, we know the plan, we've got the Death Star plans, we know the weakness, let's go,
enact it kind of thing.
So I really like that spirit of the rebellion.
And if you think about it, like, they're kind of insane, really. They only sent a few squadrons of fighters up against
the whole army.
An entire, like, moon-sized battle station that has squadrons and squadrons and squadrons of fighters and turrets all over its surface.
Is that a minor plot hole, maybe? They need to actually send more, because that literally shouldn't have been possible whatsoever, but...
Yeah. And for a space station that size, it's like, holy moly, why is that all you're sending to defend it?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I also want to give a quick mention as well. Just Tarkin as a character and his scene and interaction with Leia when she's taken prisoner. I just thought I should mention that because, I don't know, I love the whole concept, of the Empire itself and the high-ranking Imperial officers intimidating, like, a member of the actual Imperial Senate, whether it's been disbanded or not, and a princess of an entire planet.
Of a peaceful planet as well.
Yep. Peaceful. Indeed. Yeah. Do you want to kick us off for Empire?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. Okay, I should start off saying this was by far the most difficult one. I only put my scene in like 20 minutes ago, just before we started. And that's simply because I almost don't feel like there's a very standout moment. I just think the whole film is very solid.
Yeah.
Like, it's one big, great moment.
Yeah, exactly. I had that as the whole movie.
So, I've had to compromise. I've gone with Luke going into the Force Cave on Dagobah. Oh, sorry. I like that it's almost... Well, it is foreshadowing for Luke and obviously his relation to the Dark Lord of the Sith, but I don't know. It was just even the silence in the cave as well. I think that's very eerie. I don't know. It was a good scene, and you can add on to that obviously.
Face as well.
Yep, that's almost a foreshadowing that didn't end up coming into fruition, but was a plausible outcome for the way the path is going on, kind of thing. So, if you wanna,
you want me to go next? Sure. Well. I've gone with, again, there was many great moments in this movie, but I decided to go with the Battle of Hoth, which personally I feel like doesn't get as much attention as it should.
100%.
Like,
it's at the start.
It's at the very beginning, so people kind of forget about it because there's so many other major moments that happen after it. But just, like, the scene, I always think of the scene of, like, the rebel troopers in the trenches up against the AT-ATs. It's almost like, in Battlefront, the game. All the trenches at the end of the AT-ATs
and
STs walking towards you, and there's almost no hope of defeating them. So
and then the tying up.
So the troops have just got to evacuate as fast as they can, and then Darth Vader storming Echo Base as well. Like, I feel like the whole scene there of Hoth is just a bit. I don't know if I'd say underrated, but underlooked.
Maybe overlooked.
Overlooked. That's the word.
Yeah.
Overlooked.
My first one was the training nightmare scene with Darth.
Sorry.
So it's quite funny. But once again, when we have double ups in this, it kind of just shows how good these scenes are like kind of objectively, I would like to say, because a lot of people like to talk about him, of course. But the one I'm going to have to talk about here, because once again, it's like the Anakin and Obi-Wan, you can't forget this scene. And obviously, I wanted to be in the theaters when this first came out. It's the best movie of all time to watch in the cinema.
What a twist.
Is Luke versus Darth on Cloud City. So starting from all the way from when they're in the carbon freezing chamber, then to the end of where Luke's hanging by a thread, basically, is just perfect start to finish. The fighting, how Darth shows him up when Luke starts to think that he's actually powerful, and then Darth's just like, no. So, and then Darth's revelation, Luke not believing it, the acting from Mark Hamill is iconic as ever, and it's just perfect. It's yes, it might not have the best choreography, but it does so much more with the emotion and the connections of the two characters, when a lot of times, for example, I want to quickly just branch off a little bit here, but General Grievous and Obi-Wan, we never really had a connection, if you exclude the Clone Wars and everything like that. It's just a droid versus a Jedi, basically. You know what I mean? So there's no emotional stakes there, really. It's more just, oh yeah, if he takes out Grievous, then there's no leader for him. Mm-hmm. But this one's like father and son. He's not believing in it at the end, and it's a big plot twist. And obviously, with the internet back then, there was no internet, so you couldn't get spoiled. Like the sequel movies, some of the things that got spoiled straight after they came out. But yeah, fantastic scene, has to be mentioned, and that's my
has to be mentioned.
Can I just say something? And this is going to sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nuts if General Grievous was like, I am your father to Obi-Wan? Because we don't know Obi-Wan's father, and General Grievous is, he was a person before a cyborg.
An alien, yeah.
That would be nuts.
Not a human.
The mum or the, I don't even know, whatever you want to call them in their species, but could have been a human?
Maybe.
You never know.
You don't know. Speculation.
So.
So, return. Who wants to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Mine is pretty simple, and this has been my favourite scene maybe in all of Star Wars for a very long time, and it's the celebration on Andor right at the very end. I think that, first of all, I love the music. The music is incredible. It really feels euphoric and a sense of triumph.
Music.
Not the nub whatever the other thing was. That's terrible. But sorry, nub. But I just really liked. What's going on?
Sorry,
That's fine.
The portrayal of it was fine.
I really liked the way that, I don't know, it captured the victory of the rebels and finally winning and winning the war, and it feels earned and relief. Yeah. Would you like to go? Or do you want Mark to go?
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
Again, this is going back to the prequel sort of things, but the momentous battle between Luke and Darth Vader, father and son, Jedi and Sith, and the redemption of Vader himself, or Anakin, I should say, really, the redemption of Anakin.
Yeah.
Palpatine's attempt to convert Luke even up until the last moments, and how Luke's willpower is it's too strong to be. It may be, he may be tempted by the dark side, but it's never enough to fully pull him to the dark side. So I thought even just the actual, when Luke's up on the high ground and Vader's throwing his lightsaber, just the whole battle as a film as well as what it means, like the emotional kind of aspect to it. And then, when Vader has his redemption. Son pretty much at lightsaber point. Yeah. And then he gets redeemed.
Yeah. I'll also like to add, I don't know if you actually said it, but the music and the chorus.
The music.
Especially the scene at the very end of the fight where the camera moves along from the staircase, like the destroyed staircase along to the bridge. That might be my favourite scene. Sorry, I completely forgot about that. That's really good.
Honourable mention for it then.
Good moment, Mark.
So mine was also Throne Room. However, there actually is two scenes which are very small, I would like to say, in the whole entirety of the frame, apart from the second one. I'll mention them quickly. The first one, which I don't think gets that much conversation about it, is actually when you first see Luke come into Jabba's palace, when he's got the hoodie cloak on, and he actually force chokes the Gamorreans. Yep. This makes you think, if you're watching it for the first time, has he turned evil? By the time this one's come out,
and the fact that he's wearing all black.
Is he a Sith? He's used an ability that we've only seen Darth use. So it's like, whoa.
And I'd also like to add just quickly, up until about 2 months till its release, it was called Revenge of the Jedi.
Yep. So
very sinister name.
Very sinister.
And you know what? Yeah. I want to build on that point because you just reminded me of something.
Oh no.
One of my favourite kind of, I don't know what meta language, if that's what you call it, or as a film, but how he wears all black the whole film, and then right at the end when he fights his father and the little front of his chest bit peels open, and then it reveals that on the inside it's white,
pure,
and it's the light side of the Force.
Yeah,
so he's wearing his outward appearance. The whole film is kind of dark side
like
vibes.
Anakin was in the prequels, which we obviously didn't get.
But then, right at the end, when Anakin gets redeemed and the whole fight happens, it opens
the
up.
Electrocution.
It reveals that he's been wearing on the inside the light side the entire time.
Yeah.
He can't be corrupted.
You know what would have been cool actually if they went this way and went in the in the funeral scene. That was actually my next one, the funeral scene, and Darth Vader's unmasking, because it traumatized me as a kid, because it was the first movie I watched when I was young, and seeing Darth's head all scarred, and I was like, whoa. But I would like to mention that imagine the funeral scene, if he switched it was a reversible costume, and he switched to all white.
Oh, no.
Like Ahsoka, but like But how cool would it have been? Like, oh, he's now
like
pure.
a white cloak.
Yeah,
that would be sick.
Anyway, so those were my two. A bit less talked about, I like to say. Like everyone talks about the throne room and everything else. So yeah, that's my one for that. If I'll continue
Force
for
Awakens?
Force Awakens. Now this movie's interesting. There's actually not a lot that I have as a pinnacle moment. There's two that I think I mentioned to Cooper a bit long ago, and I would like to mention them both. And I'll mention one first, because once again I don't want to take away if it is. It's the part where Kylo kills Han. I was trying to figure out a word to say instead of kills. But so the reason why I love this so much is I love Han. But I was also a bit sad when he died. However, it was kind of already spoiled beforehand, because Harrison was talking about how he wants Han to die all the time, his character. So it lost a bit of the emotion. However, I loved how it was kind of set a really good tone for Kylo's character on how he's trying to get rid of all the good from his past by physically killing his father, which I think is something that is actually a lot more serious than maybe people don't realize. You know what I mean? Like Darth never straight up killed his mum or anything. He loved his mum. Obviously we don't know who his father was, but we never really seen some Sith Lord kill his
I have a question for you. Do you think that was Kylo's decision to kill Han, or it was
influence over
Snoke's orders?
True. I would like to think that it was his decision, to think that he's this has to solidify his life now. And I would like to mention though too, I don't like the scene after it, because I really don't like how Rey beat Kylo in the forest, but that's beside the point. I love the emotion of Chewbacca's scream after how Han hand just leaves his face up right before he falls, and you see Kylo still a bit standing there what have I just got done kind of thing. Sets a brilliant tone, and so it was a very good scene.
Here's a question that we don't need to ponder, but where did Han exactly fall to?
Yeah, what is that?
What did he land on the floor of something,
or is it just a hollow?
Straight. Had to have landed somewhere.
Well, he might have.
It could have been a trash compactor,
an energy core or something. He might have got vaporized.
Either way, the planet got blown up, so he died anyway.
He
survived that fall somehow.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to go, Mark?
Sure, I'll go. And as everyone knows, I'm not a huge sequel fan, so my next three won't be super exciting. And Force Awakens, I've always said, is my favourite of the three. But I actually kind of found it hard to pick a favourite moment. So I've kind of gone more general with the Battle of Takodana. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
The troopers and the X-Wings.
And Poe showing his skills.
But I was going to say, when you were talking, you kind of made me think of Poe when you're talking about Starkiller Base as a character. I think Poe is one of the more structured things in the sequels, if that makes sense.
Start to finish, kind of,
He's I don't know how to describe it. It seems to be written better than the other characters. And you made me think of when Finn rescues him at the start, and they're in the TIE fighter, and they're getting to know each other. I actually quite liked that scene. So I think I might even go for that one.
Yeah.
It kind of shows their characters.
And then why they're so close later on too, because he was the one that saved him.
How Finn is even though he's a stormtrooper, he's still a person.
And has feelings and,
I feel like you got to give credit to Oscar Isaac and John Boyega, because they really bring the emotion of that scene out. I just thought that needed to be mentioned.
Definitely.
Alright, I'll finish The Force Awakens off. I've gone a moment that I feel like you might go, oh, why didn't I pick that? I've gone with General Hux' speech.
Oh, yeah. I should have picked that.
Right before they absolutely obliterate the Hosnian system, General Hux gives a very resounding speech, screams at the top of his lungs about how much the New Republic is terrible and how much the First Order will wipe them from the face of the galaxy, which they do.
Yep.
I really like the passion, I guess, and the way that Donald Gleason delivers it is very, very good. So I love The Force Awakens. Everyone who's watching this knows I love The Force Awakens.
And sequels.
I think it's a cinematic masterpiece. But but this was probably the standout moment for me, just because we've seen Tarkin and like Vader and even Palpatine. They're not like downright. Hang on. They're very
evil.
No, they're very toned down and very expressionless, in my opinion.
Toned down.
At least with Hux, we haven't seen a scene like that before. We haven't seen
Until
someone.
Krennic, I guess, yeah.
Well, yes.
He technically did it too.
But that was after The Force Awakens. So this was the first time we've seen a First Order or Imperial officer absolutely scream their lungs out at their troopers, saying, "Watch this, we're about to do some crap that is going to change the galaxy."
Deploy the garrison.
I have always actually liked that scene. You remind me of it.
Yeah.
But that scene, great. But in episode 9, when he's the spy.
No, okay.
I know
but that's not
it's
really...
I know it's not exactly related because it's more of a power play as a spy. But I feel like it just kind of diminishes that whole character building from that scene.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I did make a comment. I said, shame we lost this version of the character.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, I know this is not a debating video because it's personal favourites. However, that scene did not resonate with me because we never actually saw the build-up of them kind of gaining the troops, gaining that power through Starkiller Base. And he's just some random guy with a hat that we really didn't get no context on. So I'm like, who's this guy shaking his head profusely, going,
well, yeah,
I'm like, who are you? Who are you? I don't care.
I think that goes to just show how good the performance is. Because if the context...
No, but see, mine was like, this guy looks silly in my opinion. I didn't take it like, it's not like Darth or Tarkin or someone who's got a build-up. I'm like, there's some random guy standing on the stage thinking it's him, like he's him. You're not him. I said to Cooper actually before this, I would have thought it would have been much more impactful if Kylo Ren was the one to have that order and scream his lungs out, kind of showing his dominance over all those troopers.
Like in The Last Jedi. On Crate.
Yeah, well, instead of like... Well, not like just like fire all... Yeah, more just like he's the one that demanded that order to destroy. Because then he would have been personally kind of the one that operated all that system to be destroyed instead of some random... I don't want to be mean, but some random guy in a hat who's just, looking like a fool, in my opinion. So I didn't resonate with that. But I would like to mention that the other one I had was the start where Kylo freezes the bolt and kills the town, basically. That set the tone perfectly.
That is a great start to a Star Wars film.
100%. When I watched that in the cinemas, I was goosebumps. Chills all over. Yeah. And I'm sorry to dismiss your scene, but that's just my opinion with that.
Right. So, let's move to The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Now, this is probably the best movie of the... No, I'm joking. This is a really good movie. And there's hey, if you don't like the movie, you got to appreciate that there's a couple of really cool scenes.
Shots, I'll say.
Scenes.
Shots, I'll
Scenes.
say. Shots, I'll
say. Let's stick with scenes.
Let's hear what he has to say.
I'm going to start. Now, I don't know what you guys have. I'm not going to mention it because I feel like you do have them. If you don't have them, I will mention them later. I really love Yoda's appearance. This is so underappreciated. First of all, this was the most shocking moment for me in the cinema when I saw it. I'm like, I did not expect Yoda to be in this film. And I love the way he toys with Luke a bit at the start. He's kind of, page turners they are not. With the
Dagobah vibe with that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. And it kind of shows the power Yoda has and also how wise he is to basically just go to Luke, look, I know you are so broken as a character, but, learn to live with failure and persevere from it. And I love that lesson. And I think it's something that Luke, in that state, really needed to hear. And obviously, he goes and makes the sacrifice.
Can I jump in? I love that you mentioned he needs to learn to live with his mistakes or whatever it was you just said there, his failures.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what it was in The Empire Strikes Back when he lost to Darth Vader and he lost his hand. And then he went to Yoda in episode 6. I feel like that is what you've said about like learning from his failures. Because I feel like at this point, and we've said it so many times on the podcast, that we feel like, me and Jack at least, feel like Luke isn't portrayed the best in these films. Because in my personal opinion, he's already learned
that lesson.
And then as we see in like Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, and he's become Jedi Luke. So I feel like this is just going back to the whole age old, this isn't the proper Luke.
But like at this point of his age, he should be like, even after the failure of the temple being exploded, he should be like, I need to fix this kind of thing, even excluding the whole.
I need to come up with a better model for this.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Sure, I'll go.
Yeah.
As everyone knows, not my favourite movie, so I couldn't actually pick a moment from the film.
Oh god!
But what I've done is I've picked kind of an environment from the film, which is the Act 2 scenes, the planet, but the shots of the island off the coast of Ireland. I love this.
He picked an island.
It's going completely. You could say Act 2 as a planet, but I'm just I don't know, the shots themselves. It makes me think of Lord of the Rings. I love just watching the landscape.
Still about Lord of the Rings.
I just love looking at the landscape of the film.
He just likes that opening shot of the one.
Let me go. You can't dismiss the fact that it's such a nice looking place. Like the green.
But you're not gonna go, oh yeah, Takodana was cool because it looked nice. It was nice and green.
Well,
that's my favourite moment, seeing Takodana.
That was actually one of the reasons I picked Takodana as well. The environment. You got to think of the set building and the world building themselves are part of movies as well.
Yes.
So, like, I think...
A planet.
Yes, a planet. There was one other mention which was from the movie.
Yep.
But again, it's nothing super important.
The Battle of Crate.
No, it's a sound effect.
Oh my god.
A sound effect.
The whole maneuver kind of has a seismic charge-esque sort of sound. So, I mean...
This is insulting to a new level.
Hey, look, you got to even give credit to the people who pick locations for films. It's not all about the writers and the actors.
The Battle of Crate? They look beautiful.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but like, Crate was definitely one of the better parts of the movies. But hey, we've got to give credit to the the people in the making of the film who come up with sets, locations, and costumes.
I'm gonna break your heart here. Technically, it was the people in The Force Awakens who decided it, because it was at the end. So you're not really giving any credit to anyone.
But this was shown more in this.
It was.
It was it had more of an impact in this film.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is that it?
I stand by it.
Well, okay.
I will come in with an actual scene.
Okay.
So I'm actually surprised you didn't do Battle of Crate, because we all know how you love ground warfare.
I did consider it.
Yeah, and especially Battlefront 2 references stuff. But my one is actually I switched up a little bit. It is actually the scene where Kylo's gaining trying to gain the support of Rey.
With Snoke?
After the battle that they did in the throne room. Yeah, where he's like, take my hand, let go of the past.
Oh, yeah, that's a good scene.
And he's really screaming at her, kind of to like, you're still holding on.
Yeah, let go.
That's
great.
So I love, I just love that, and it kind of set me excited. Like, from the first half of that movie, when I was watching it in the cinema, I did not like it. I was like, ooh, what's going on here? And then after, I was like, here we go. We're turning up the dial. It's gonna get heated. It's getting, it's cooking up a storm kind of thing. And then it didn't. But that's okay. That scene on its own was still great. And the fire of like all the burning stuff after the battle, and then you just see Snoke's body in half. Yeah, it was just perfect.
Choreography aside, the Kylo Ren versus Rey, Kylo and Rey fight against the Praetorian Guards was insane.
Choreography could have been better, and that would have been probably one of my favourite fight scenes in the whole Star Wars, if it would actually make sense. But
yes.
I can't watch that fight without seeing that Praetorian Guard just go after knifing in range. Anyway,
that fight is just it's a comedy show.
Yeah, it is.
It looks fantastic.
But I love the anything with Kylo in these sequels are just. I think it's a running theme. Everything that's been from mine has been Kylo Ren related, so...
Yep. No surprise.
Yeah,
I will just mention one more thing. Mark kind of mentioned it. The Holdo maneuver is actually pretty cool, and the whole visual aspect of it as well is really good.
Visual aspect is good.
Visual and audio is great.
But plot, storytelling, and actual making sense logic, no.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's get over the
We have to
sequels.
get through the sequels here.
Yeah, no, I'm really disappointed in you guys. All right, who wants to start? I'll finish it up.
I'll
Someone
go.
else
No,
Yeah,
I'll go first
Okay.
because mine's pretty simple, and I actually did pick
It's
a
another
moment.
planet.
Thank God.
It's not.
It's another planet.
It's more. It is an actual moment, and I haven't seen the movie in such a long time. But this scene, I actually enjoyed it, so that's saying something.
Oh my gosh,
and
it's Raylo.
No, that's one of my least favourite parts of the film. I think my favourite part of that film is when all the Jedi have their voiceovers at the end, and you can hear Obi-Wan and one. I don't know why, but it's always stuck with me that Kanan speaks.
Yeah.
It always. I don't know. It's always been living in my head like
And
Kanan wasn't really. I don't know how to put it. Like it wasn't an
was
important
unexpected.
Jedi. He wasn't one of the main ones, in the order or in the training of Padawans. So
But you know what's crazy? Freddie Prinze Jr. didn't want to do it
yeah, he didn't want to come back
because it diminishes his importance.
I don't know. I
I just liked that you could hear it was a bit of a cameo moment,
Yeah.
but
That's good.
and I think I was gonna say because maybe it's representative of the fact that Kanan was a Padawan during Order 66.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
he's representing that sort of part of the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, nice. My hot take here is that this is actually my most enjoyable sequel movie to watch, and even though I scoffed at that bit, I just think that wasn't actually not even. I've got so many from this movie that I actually really like, excluding the plot aside. I love so many scenes in this movie. So when you finish it up, I'd like to say a couple of honourable mentions just in case I take it over. First one is actually I might say that one for the honourable mention because it's very small. My main one I probably should say is a redemption with Leia. Okay. I didn't like how Rey stabbed Kylo and the Force healing. I didn't like the Force healing. However, the whole bit where Kylo was actually finally, the first time in the trilogy, actually showed that he should be far more powerful than Rey when he was overpowering her, and then that whole fight with the water crashing down on him, and then when he goes to do the final strike, it kind of just pauses. And Leia, and I think it did actually a good thing for Leia, considering Rip Carrie Fisher. I think he gave her a good send-off to actually have her do an important thing for such an important character in that trilogy. And I just really, really loved that whole bit. And yeah, it just made a big impact on Kylo's character and his redemption to good, which I also loved.
Can't say I remember the part with Leia. What was that?
She just lied on the bed and basically spoke out to Kylo and gave her Force essence, kind of her life for Kylo to not turn or not be evil anymore kind of thing. So, I don't know, I loved it. I really liked that
Fair
scene.
enough.
Yeah.
I had two moments that I couldn't really pick from. One of them was that I've really enjoyed the last lightsaber battle. I think it was very well done, and the ending really surprised me. I'm like, oh crap, Kylo Ren's gonna die.
No,
and then
I hated that.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was an interesting way to end it, and the setting was perfect on the Death Star trench. Well, not trench, but the
Remains.
the wall, I guess. I'll go with the other scene, and very similar to my Return of the Jedi, it was the celebration on Agent Gloss at the very end of the film. Yes, a lot of it's forgettable, and it's a lot of people just kind of giving each other hugs. But my favourite moment, and the bit that makes me tear up every time, and I don't know why, is when Rey and Finn and Poe hug each other. I don't know why, it makes me so happy. That's my favourite movie.
Okay, that's good.
My favourite part of this movie actually is
the ending.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, so
we
funny.
don't talk about that on Coruscant.
But
only as a joke.
Yeah, but the two that I would like to mention that were small scenes that I loved and gave more character, because Kylo Ren's probably, if not my favourite, second favourite. The scene where he actually Force lifts the guy onto the roof and goes, finding her,
that felt
showing
like
he's powerful.
That was like Kylo Ren going.
Yeah,
that was horror mode.
Yeah,
Kylo Ren.
And the scene before that, him building his helmet back. Love the design. Love the kind of reference to real life. Piecing something back together. Great symbolism for his character, trying to cover up his kind of fearness of becoming good again. Kind of trying to see, this helmet will make me who I need to be, but it doesn't in actuality. So it's kind of like the mask over his character. So love those two scenes, and everything with Kylo in this movie I think is the best for him, even when he's good. I think he has the best scenes in this movie, and that's why I love the movie more than the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so that ends the Skywalker saga. Should we move to Rogue One?
Let's do it.
Alright, I'll start. So, the way I described this, I said Jeddah City goes boom.
Yeah.
Now,
that's great.
I'm going to read my description word for word because I feel like I put it very well. Everything about this scene is perfect. The muted explosion alongside Galen's explanation is incredible. And the same time that Jeddah City goes boom, the quote is, or what Galen says, one blast to any part of it will destroy the entire station. And I just feel like that's such good visualization of what will happen to the Death Star eventually, that it will go. So, and I don't know, just the intensity of the scene as well, and the rumbling of the ground, the escape from Jeddah City as well. One of my favourite movies, and my favourite scene in the movie.
I would like to follow up because he said it the best. That is my favourite one too.
Oh.
So, fine. That's probably really loud, but that is my favourite scene. And so I'm just going to make a quick little thing to note at the end because that was my main favourite one that I thought was actually not going to get mentioned. But I love the tests and I love everything about it. I love how Krennic was trying to upshow Tarkin too. But Darth scene at the end, iconic, beautiful lighting, beautiful visuals, beautiful sound, beautiful stakes, beautiful foreshadowing. However, the cape flapping at the end doesn't make sense because why is there wind in space? But don't worry about that. Everything else was perfect. So, yep, I'm not going to even say any more because he covered it perfectly.
Yep, all valid, very valid points. I can't argue at all because I wrote basically just the whole movie itself.
Nice, yeah.
But it's too hard to pick just one specific moment, so you guys would pick great ones. I had to mention the Battle of Scarif.
Deploy the garrisons!
Yep, that whole bit, the battle itself. Again, the landscape.
That was my favourite ground
beaches,
warfare too.
The beaches of Scarif.
Yeah.
And, when you're talking about Saw Gerrera, you also remind me of another scene that I've always really liked, and it's because of the dialogue. And it's when Saw, he says something along the lines of, "Can you bear to look and see the Imperial flag reign above?" And she says, "It's not a problem." Jyn says, "It's not a problem if you don't look up." That line is just always, it's that really got to me when I heard it. I don't know, it's just, I love the symbolism. I love the writing in this film, and same with Andor for obvious reasons. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
So much better than every other project.
The lore and the world building. And one of my all-time favourite characters is Director Krennic, who, of course, is a big part of this film, so he has to be mentioned. So, just pretty much the whole movie, but those moments are some of the best.
I would like to mention that this film did bring this channel together, basically. It started us into wanting to talk about it on how much we just loved it and how much we all resonated with everything. And, so this holds dearly to our channel as a whole, this movie. It'll kind of be linked to us for a while.
Rogue One is, beyond being a great movie, it's very important and special to us.
Yep.
Solo, a Star Wars story. Do you want to start? I feel like you are the one who likes this movie the most.
I love this movie.
We need to mention, this is a completely underrated movie.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's done so dirty. I think it's it also was the movie to basically kill Disney's whole plot to make individual films between major ones every year, which I thought these two were probably one of the better Disney films compared to the sequel trilogy. So, what's happening here, guys? I like to mention that Infinity War did kill this movie in the box office because that movie was the best Marvel movie, probably. So sad, but this moment, I love so much the visuals of how it begins to is the Kessel Run.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore this scene, and I love the Imperial Star Destroyer blocking the exit and just with the storm around it, and Han's quick thinking, the iconic kind of, did the Kessel Run in how many seconds?
12.
Parsec.
And he always makes it lower because he likes to make himself seem better. But that whole scene was shot perfectly. The whole ending of it too, with the escaping of the creatures and the weird things that they go through, it is perfect. This scene, if it was in any other movie but Solo, would be raved upon a lot. The issue is that it's in Solo, and so no one really wants to mention it. And I think it is a perfect Han Solo scene, and Solo in the whole movie. So,
okay. I was asking if I could go next because I've got the exact same scene again.
Okay,
I'm gonna add just a few notes. First thing, this is the first time when it came out, this was the first time in all of Star Wars that the Imperial Navy felt genuinely terrifying. I think it's got to do with the visuals and the fact that it's just this massive big... It took up the
whole space. It shows the scale and the size.
And the Imperial Navy itself is what gave the power to the Empire. It's how the Emperor got his power over the galaxy. So the Imperial Navy needs to be shown in such a way. So,
the only other thing I was going to say is I would probably throw a honourable mention to
please, that's what I'm thinking.
The fight at the end of the movie.
Oh, really?
In the yacht. I don't know if that's what you're going to talk about. No, yeah, I really like the fight between, it's like 4 different participants.
Factors.
Kira and, Beckett leaves 3. Kira and Han and,
Dryden Boss.
I couldn't remember his name. Yeah,
Dryden
Dryden Boss.
Jarvis.
Yeah.
Really liked it. Alright.
Mine was a bit more obscure. It wasn't, it was the scene, seeing how the Empire kind of functions from a ground level, if that makes sense.
From the start.
Which we saw more of in Andor as well.
Yeah.
But in this movie, because one of the bits that I really enjoyed is Han, and we don't even really remember this. No one really remembers. Han fought in the Empire.
Yeah.
He fought as a ground trooper, not a stormtrooper, just more of a normal army trooper.
Yeah.
But like the scene when he goes up to the recruiting station and they basically they ask him like one question. They're just willing to hire pretty much anyone that
that's
they
why
can.
we see sometimes they're so useless and sometimes they're very good. It just depends.
Exactly, and I love seeing this sort of viewpoint of the Empire rather than more of the top levels with the Emperor and Darth Vader and the like Grand Moff Tarkin. I'm seeing more of kind of, I call it the ground level, and there's the scenes where Han has, they're all boots on the ground, they're fighting, there's ATSTs. It looks like an actual war film as well.
Yes.
Like even for Star Wars.
Period piece.
So that was the Battle of Minban, and that was my original one before I changed it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, and the viewers can tell me if I'm wrong, the Battle of Minban, I believe, was the Empire fighting the Empire.
They didn't tell them
They
did
didn't
they?
tell them that they were fighting each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was about. I don't know if it was like crowd control
remember.
or something, but
Yeah.
very poor tactical decision making by whoever it was.
Very bad.
But yeah, it's a great moment. I'm
Yeah,
glad you
just-
said
And
that.
the visual of Beckett just...
Just the whole, and just the whole scene is just amazing. There's too many. I'm trying to think of all these things to say. There's too much.
This movie feels very Andor-esque in terms of how Han's...
The Empire.
The Empire, and Han's kind of like a character that has experienced a lot of negative kind of bad things and have been implemented in even the Empire and the Rebels later on. So he's been kind of everywhere. He's done everything almost in his life, you know what I mean? So it's crazy. Yeah.
Alright, that brings us to the end of the films. Let's go into the shows. What do we want to start with? Animated or...
Yeah, we'll start with Clone Wars.
Yep.
Alright, Clone Wars. Can I go first?
Yep.
Go.
Okay, now, again I have 2 moments. I think I'm going to say my first one because the second one I don't think I like as much, and it's more general. I mean, it was Anakin and Yoda versus Sidious and Dooku in Season 6.
Nice. Yep.
But that doesn't... What the heck is happening to the screen?
That was so funny.
Is that gonna... No. Okay.
There we go. Thumbs up.
So, it was the battle at the end because... I don't know. It didn't actually happen. It was like a memory or something on Yoda's thing. That was pretty cool. And seeing Anakin fight Sidious.
Yep. So cool.
First time we've ever seen that. But the one I'm going with is from Season 4, I believe. It's when Obi-Wan goes undercover as
The
a bounty
hunter.
hunter. And one moment in particular, the ships have crashed. Cad Bane and Obi-Wan are like... Anakin's kind of knocked out. And then here comes Ahsoka jumping up from the cliff. Her lightsabers make a really weird distorted hum, and then she sits in front of Anakin and just blocks all the lightsaber bolt. She doesn't attack, she just sits there and deflects. And I think that is how you do a pure Jedi. She does not attack, she just defends.
And that's what Obi-Wan's
Perfectly
very
done.
good too.
Yeah. And Obi-Wan just says, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So, that was my favourite moment.
Alright, well, I guess I'll go next. There's just so many arcs to pick from, like all these great arcs, and there's a few other honourable mentions I'll have, but as I'm sure most people can guess, because I spoke about it in a Clone Wars episode, so check it out if you haven't listened to it already. But the Umbara arc, I think this is well regarded as one of the best arcs in the Clone Wars. One of the reasons I think is because it's more of a clone-based one, actually. And we all love seeing how the Jedi work, but seeing the clones and making them feel more personal, rather than kind of, the clones even say it themselves, they're expendable, and rather than seeing them as such, we see more of, the inner workings, and they're not fully in support of the generals all the time, with Pong Krell, for example, obviously. And then, the colours, I always think of the colours in this arc, like the colours in the darkness kind of makes it a bit eerie, and the villains coming out of the trees. And it's similar to what you were saying with Solo, how the clones kind of put up against each other without realising. With the clone armour. So
Pong Krell.
I mean, I'll mention my other... Actually, you go first and then I'll see if you mention
So, I'm going to do a bit different to what we've done before. I am not actually going to go into detail on what I love specifically. I'm just going to mention the 3 moments in particular. Ahsoka versus Maul Season 7.
That was one of my ones. Yeah.
Probably one of my favourite fight scenes of all time, with the emotion and the stakes that are there. Mortis arc, love it all. And the other one I like to mention is Obi-Wan with the Mandalorian armor, and as he ignites,
that's incredible.
And he ignites the lightsaber, and you see the whole warfare.
I think that's an iconic scene.
Yes,
in the
that was season 5.
I'm getting chills by just imagining it, and I think those moments just have stuck with me for the longest time, and I love them all for their own reasons. And if one day we might actually do an extensive arc by arc kind of thing, because wow, there's so much good things about the Clone Wars, and I think if it was live action, I know the cost. If we're putting logic and reason to the side, if that were live action, it would be raved upon completely. It would be like the best thing from all fiction, because the arcs are so perfect. The storytelling is perfect. It's just people don't like to watch it because it's animated.
Yeah.
A lot of people dismiss it. A lot of people don't think it's proper storytelling and not proper anything. I think it's perfect. So honestly, there's some dodgy episodes. I don't like the droid episodes that much. However, not anything is perfect. But in my opinion, this is as close to perfection as we can get for a Star Wars thing. So yeah.
Nice.
Well, when you mentioned the Ahsoka versus Maul in Season 7, that was one of my mentions as well. And it's just, for an animated show, I believe it was motion capture, wasn't it?
Unreal.
Because I think that's what makes it so good. It's just one of the best choreographed fights I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that it's animated makes it seem all the better.
Even crazier.
I think you can tell it's motion capture as well.
But that's where I come in, is a bit of why didn't we not get the same? I know she's older, but why didn't we get the same sort of movement and choreography in the Ahsoka show? She was the actress who was playing Ahsoka in that. I can't remember her name, but she was doing flips, side turns. It felt natural, but also what we've seen before in the animated where she does. So I'm like, why can't we get the same? But
oh.
Yeah.
Well, I also wanted to mention, I'll do it quickly, but the Order 66 scene with Ahsoka in Season 7 as well. Season 7 has so many
heartbreaking moments,
banging episodes.
Except for the Trace and Ralph.
Other than them. Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about them, but how good was that? Even Rex trying to fight off the Order.
So sad.
Everything about that episode was just fantastic.
Indeed.
Alright, Mark, do you want to start us off with Rebels?
I'll start us off with Rebels, sure. So, it's been a while since I've watched it, and I really do like Rebels, but since it's been so long, I found it a bit hard to think of an actual moment.
Yep.
So instead, I went with a character, and I'm sure everyone can guess that it's Thrawn. Thrawn, I wrote peak Thrawn, because, let's be honest, he wasn't the greatest in Ahsoka. But
just to interject quickly, he does similar stuff that he does in the show too. He loses, but then says that it's an acceptable loss. It's a Disney
This is something
flaw.
you're stuck on.
Yeah,
it is, because
I don't agree with you.
Apart from some scenes where he actually won, I know in Ahsoka we barely he won, but it didn't feel like he did. I understand in Rebels he actually did win and it felt like he won, but I just don't like how he can't accept the loss sometimes.
Well, I think that's part of his character.
True, but he says it's an acceptable. I meant this. I'm like, you don't mean that.
He's so cocky about his own abilities. He's like, I can't be beaten. I'm always a step ahead, which he is always a step ahead, which is a point I was going to mention. He's always a step ahead of those he's working against. But I think just as a character, and even the way he talks in such a quiet but well thought out way, just as a character, I think he's one of the best, I'd say, in Star Wars, and he's very well liked. So
yeah. Definitely. You want to go?
Yeah, I'm just gonna be short and sweet. I love Rebels. I'm not a big fan of Rebels in terms of its own particular scenes. I like it as more of a whole rather than Clone Wars and other stuff where it's really perfect scenes. In my opinion, I just think I like Rebels' experience as watching it from season 1 to 4. But one that stands out in particular is Kanan's sacrifice, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Emotional, amazing, unexpected in my opinion. I didn't really expect it at the time. I didn't really think, this is the moment he's going to die.
Okay,
I thought they were just going to get away and it was going to be something else, you know what I mean? But also in a way I was like, he just force push that and then force push himself back onto the ship. Okay. Anyway, that scene and just another minor one was the Trials of the Darksaber episode. I love that episode. It stuck with me for a long time. The only episode scene where I actually like Sabine too. So it's kind of like, what? But that episode on its own was honestly peak, and I just love it so much. But Rebels as a whole is very good. I just don't think there's as many individual moments that, for example, season 1 was very slow. There wasn't a lot of great moments, but as a season, as from start to finish, I actually really enjoyed it, but not individually speaking. So, yeah.
I've gone with Chopper blowing up a light cruiser. No, I haven't. There was one moment in particular. I mean, it's a really good show. But I think that this moment that I'm going to mention really brought together the end of a character really poetically and also showed the nature of another character. So I'm going with Obi-Wan versus Maul on Tatooine, Season 3. I think it's called Twin Suns, the episode. And yeah, the whole episode's about Maul trying to find Obi-Wan. They have this kind of showdown, and then you see it's Obi-Wan's, desire to protect Luke that really sends it over the edge. And Maul just gets overambitious, as he always does. And then he I feel like this might sound terrible, but I feel like Maul went into that going, I might lose, but I want to die. Because he's just gone through so much crap in his life.
He's so old too. At that point in time, he's like even more frail than Obi-Wan. Yeah. Like if Obi-Wan didn't stay in those twin suns, he probably wouldn't have aged so, old.
Anyway, I just really liked that
that's
moment
a good one.
from
100%.
from Rebels.
And I like how Maul, he says something like, is Luke going to save us or something?
Is he the chosen one?
That's it. He
He
the
is.
chosen one?
He will avenge us.
And Maul kind of gets into peace with that, surprisingly.
Well, he's not really the chosen one.
Well,
he brings back the chosen one.
His master, the Emperor, tortured him and kept him in prison and cast him aside.
Groomed him like Anakin for a long time too. You know what I mean?
And then cast him aside. Yeah.
So yeah.
And he mentions that quite a few times in Rebels as well.
Yeah, cast it aside. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to do Bad Batch or Tales of the Jedi?
We'll do Bad Batch.
Bad Batch. Okay. Who wants to start?
I think
I'll go because mine's simple.
One's even shorter, but yeah.
You can go then.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Bad Batch. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. There's some good scenes. I like the scientist stuff in the recent season on World's Planet. You guys will know.
Mount Tantus.
Yep, that's pretty cool. I actually did like Plan 99 when what's his name? Tech, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sacrificed himself. I loved that. I thought it was good. However, I'm not a big fan of the show, so it probably didn't hit me as hard. So that's probably why. But short and sweet, good scene. I like the scientist kind of more Imperial-based stuff in the recent season. Overall, not my favourite show.
No, fair enough.
Very short.
Mine is more of, again, it's not a moment. I don't think most of mine are moments from here on out. So it's more of the dynamic.
The vibe.
The dynamic between the main characters, like brothers. They're all kinds of brothers, but these ones feel especially so like brothers.
Yeah.
Like, they see themselves as different and therefore the same, if that makes sense.
Indeed.
In their own way. And even with Omega, I guess, as a sister. But more so, I feel like those 4 or 5, well, not really Echo, but let's pretend he is. They're like actual brothers. Like, I can't put it in any other way. In the Clone Wars, they feel more like comrades. But in this show, they feel more like brothers. So yeah, I want to mention that and how they compare themselves to the Regs.
The Regs. The nerd. Yeah. I've gone with a specific moment from Season 2, which is Tech and Omega's discussion in the mineral cave.
The part where I was almost falling asleep.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what the episode was called, but they get separated. Omega falls down a hole, and then Tech doesn't even hesitate, goes straight after her, and then they kind of sit and wait in a lake, and it's basically, hang on, I wrote something here. Yeah, Tech says, no, Omega chastises Tech for saying, why don't you care that Echo's left? Why don't you care that Crosshair's, gone bad?
Yeah.
And Tech responds, I may process moments and thoughts differently, but that does not mean I feel any less. I think that's a perfect way to sum up his character. Because he's always been kind of the rock.
Yep.
He doesn't show any emotions. And then obviously it's really sad that he passes away in the finale. But yeah, I really like that moment between two of the probably more underused and people like Tech. People don't like Omega.
I don't know why I like Omega.
I think probably because she's just a typical one that needs saving all the time and gets them more into trouble than... Anyway, I would like to mention, I actually do have an honourable mention, which actually might top it. Crosshair's episode. I forgot what it was. Crosshair's episodes in the snow.
That is incredible.
That's a great one.
Love that.
That is a great episode.
When I watched that episode, I thought, oh, this season's actually going to be alright. It's going to step up a little bit. But anyway, that was a really good moment, and I think it's worth a mention.
And you know what else? You just also reminded me of Commander Cody and how,
Mm-hmm.
and some other clones, but Cody and how he kind
Cody
of,
in particular.
he kind of regrets in a way. I don't know if I'd say regret, but he kind of starts to second guess, question. Yeah.
Does he die or does he defect?
I don't think he does either.
No, I do remember. No, because Crosshair was asking at the end of that episode what happened to Cody. Why is Crosshair getting promoted, not Cody?
Didn't they say he's just getting he's just? They try to make it sound like they haven't left
retiring.
Yeah, they haven't. You're not really sure if he's dead or if he escaped, or they're trying to hide it, cover it up to not make Crosshair kind of turn maybe too bad.
Okay, all right.
I can't remember what they said for it, but yeah.
All right.
Open-ended for sure.
Tales of the Jedi.
I think we're going to have similar ones.
Mark and I has very similar ones. I know that already. So if you want to go.
I might. I've gone Count Dooku.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We've
all got...
Well, hang on. Count Dooku versus Yaddle. So yes. Same.
No.
Well, I was thinking another moment, which I think you guys are going to...
Count Dooku moment
Qui-Gon. But I really like seeing Yaddle
beast
for the first time, really, in Star Wars. And she could really hold her own against Count Dooku. And you can see when Count Dooku does kill her, under the eyes of Palpatine, it's like he instantly regrets that. And it almost...
It's sad.
It is sad, but I was going to say, it paves the way for him. And you can really look into Attack of the Clones and see his intentions, and even Clone Wars as well, saying, what if I told you that the Senate was under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith? It's like, he's telling everyone what is happening.
Tell him the truth.
He doesn't want to believe him. He doesn't want to be there with Palpatine. He's just been...
He doesn't agree with the Jedi. He doesn't agree with Emperor.
Correct.
He just thinks that the Emperor is kind of more controlling him and controlling him too. He can't really escape it and go back. So
I just think that this moment really... First of all, I think it's the moment that Count Dooku does become a Sith. But I really... Yeah, this is a great character building moment for Count Dooku.
It's also sad how it's in the spot where we see Count meet up with Sidious in Attack of the Clones too.
Yeah.
That weird port area of Coruscant.
Point. Yep.
Which is a perfect segue into mine, because mine's more of the backstory kind of to Dooku.
Same.
And how it's kind of, you already said it, kind of how it's like he's
turning.
I like to call it his disillusionment with the Republic and the Senate and the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Because he himself and his Padawan, who is very close to Qui-Gon, have been telling the Jedi Order and the High Council for a long time of the warning signs. Yeah. But they just completely and utterly ignore them.
Yeah.
And I just the whole he's slowly turning, and in the first episode of the Dooku episodes, there's that senator and he's like, corruption like yours must be eradicated. Yeah. Like, such a perfect line. He's holding the lightsaber up like this.
Yeah.
And then in the second episode, when he's talking to like the senator's guards who assassinate him, and they have like a manifesto kind of thing, and Dooku is telling them like, you know what, I actually kind of agree with what you're saying. You're just going about it the wrong way. Like, be careful what you're doing. And you can see how Dooku evolves as a character, and this also leads into his more of being a count and the leader of the Separatists, because I feel like he actually envisions an actual change he wants to see. Like, I don't think he's like the other Sith, and he just seeks power. Yeah, he's more of just anti-corruption and wants to see better conditions. He
does want to be on the top of it, though.
He does.
He wants to have his own kind of ruling.
And when I was watching it, I may be wrong because I can't remember any specific moments from the Clone Wars, but I noticed not in Tales of the Jedi and not in the films, he doesn't ever have yellow eyes, which is typical of seeing a Sith. So it did give me an idea of perhaps maybe a Coruscant Knights video, whether Count Dooku is really a Sith, or if he's...
Darth Tyrannus, some people call him, but then a lot of other people call him Count Dooku.
Even the Jedi don't call him Darth Tyrannus, they just call him Dooku or Count.
And they only find out towards the end of the Clone Wars that he's Tyrannus.
Tyrannus. It's a really cool name too, though, that just doesn't get mentioned.
Tyrant.
Yeah, so I think it would be good to take a dive into Dooku and
as a character,
because I feel like he's not your true, he's not your normal Sith.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
what we talking? Oh yeah, mine's exactly the same as Mark's. Basically, I love that scene. Especially what resonated with me is how cool the ignitions of both Qui-Gon and Count was at that time, and it was like the music was intensifying. These troops were like, don't do it, kind of thing, and they were like, we need to do this kind of thing. And Qui-Gon basically pulling Dooku out of turning right then and there, basically just showing how strong their bond is, was really good to see, and seeing them in the Clone Wars animation like that as younger too was just unreal, and I loved it all. It was really cool.
Is Tales of the Jedi Season 2 in the works? I can't remember.
Yes, I think there is.
Okay.
But you know what would be cool? Tales of the Sith.
Oh,
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be
cool.
sick.
That'd be
Very cool. You get Emperor background, maybe some backstory.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I like that because Qui-Gon's scene is kind of a different Jedi to the rest because he kind of
a bit
does
more
his
of
own
an
thing, kind of.
outcast kind of.
Yeah, and I think he gets that from Count Dooku. So that's,
Oh yeah,
that's
100%. Yeah,
very.
the whole lineage.
It's such an interesting dynamic if you think about it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you want to go on to Andor? Start the live action shows.
All right. Yeah.
I'd like to mention that Andor is a great show in my opinion. It just has scenes where I probably wouldn't say there's a particular scene more of an arc or an overall story that I liked more. However, one that sticks with me that it might be mentioned. Oh, I don't think so. But I loved Marva's speech really a lot. And I know I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to also mention another one straight away, is the Mon Mothma behind the scenes of what she does.
That's great.
I think is very good, and probably my favourite bits were her and Luthen behind the scenes on Coruscant. Everything with Coruscant I loved actually the most. That's the parts I resonated with more than, honestly, the Andor bits. Which is funny because it's called Andor, but I actually preferred everything else but Andor in this almost, which is quite strong, heated, a bit of an opinion, but my opinion is I didn't really like the side characters. However, I did love Luthen, Marva, even Mon Mothma. Those three probably were my favourite. In all honesty, I loved everything that they were in, so anything that they were in, I enjoyed the most. That's where I'm coming from with that, and great show. Yeah.
Nice.
Who's going? I'll go.
Yeah.
Well, I've said it so many times, but the prison arc is my all-time favourite arc of the show. But obviously, pretty much the entire show is just fantastic. I feel like it starts a bit slow, the show, but in terms of the prison arc, what I love about it is it keeps you in suspense, sort of, and despair and helplessness. You don't hear what's coming on the outside, which makes you feel like you're on the inside with the prisoners. You know something's happening, but you don't know what.
Yeah.
There's rumours.
You could kind of guess, as a viewer, did you guys kind of guess that they were making stuff for the Death Star before it was revealed? Really?
I thought it was something. I didn't think it was Death Star because the shape just seemed a bit odd.
I thought it was going to be like weapons or something for the Death Star.
I thought it might be for maybe like ground
Star Destroyers or something.
Star Destroyers or ground like AT-ATs.
I really thought it was that, to be honest, the Death Star, because I was like, they're really not explicitly saying what is being worked on. I'm like, they probably would have mentioned if it wasn't something so... But obviously that reveal was unreal, and the foreshadow of how he's building it and then dies by it, but also helps to destroy it in the future is crazy storytelling.
Yep. And then just, I can't remember the character's name. The other one in the Kino Loy. Yeah, Kino Loy. His speech to the prisoners, and I love just like the corridors, the sign language between the corridors.
Yeah.
When they're going into the workstations, and they're doing sign language, and they're like, "What's going on over there? We can't, they don't know what's happening, but something
100%.
Big is happening." And it just adds to the feeling of kind of helplessness, and
100%.
and in Andor generally, I feel like the Empire is portrayed fantastically. An actual villain, more than a clumsy sort of thing that we've kind of seen.
It's bigger than the Emperor and Vader.
Exactly.
The ISB.
Like just the summary, trials in court.
So
you're going to prison for 10 years. You're going for 5 years.
Yeah, just for no reason,
and
literally.
The shore troopers, just you're under arrest.
Yeah.
It makes you actually fear the Empire.
Yeah.
And I would describe it as kind of anxiety-inducing, like with the helplessness again in the prison. It makes you feel kind of hard to breathe. Just
definitely.
for what's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Great explanation.
Yeah.
I've gone from I'm not picking a scene. I'm picking one line of dialogue that really resonates with me, and I think it is probably the best written piece of dialogue because of its representation of the galaxy, and it's also the name of an episode. So it's Skeen, the dirty scoundrel Skeen, Do you guys remember who Skeen is? Yeah.
Wasn't a fan of him that much, to be honest.
He was the one who Andor shot.
Yeah.
He was basically suggesting,
Right at the start.
Dog the...
Oh, yeah. I remember now.
Yeah. He says, the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. What a perfect metaphor. The axe as the Empire, they commit so many terrible acts and they do not care. They forget about it because they just, that's what they are. They're ruthless.
Yep.
But the tree remembers everyone who's been affected by that.
They remember.
Everyone who's lost family members, everyone who's lost friends. They remember that. And it's such a good metaphor because the tree obviously will remember being cut into.
Yeah.
It's
great. It's great.
Such good dialogue and the writers deserve
I
don't know how many more times we can praise Andor before it gets too much.
Honestly,
it's just so good.
I think this is one of the best written things I've ever seen. Like I just can't help but mention the writers every time I talk about Andor. The writing is just absolutely phenomenal.
100%. 100%.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay, next show. What are we doing?
Kenobi.
Kenobi. Kenobi. All right. Yeah. Can I start?
Yep.
All right. There are some average moments in this series.
Oh,
it is not very good.
Probably worse than average.
Yeah. There's one moment that stuck with me, and I think it really shows the full menace of Darth Vader.
Oh, we all going very
and he
similar
goes,
one.
Probably.
"You were warned." What failure would bring when he absolutely terrorizes Reva.
Yeah.
And then Reva gives some,
Weird.
pissy reason why it's okay that they're left.
An excuse.
But I just that moment of him walking down the corridor with a shaky cam.
Exactly
Holy, whoa!
Well done, Cooper. That was exactly my one.
Yeah.
We've
got the same one for once.
Slightly different a little.
I just had the Vader walking through the corridor and Force choking and lifting into the air. This is what I consider Vader.
Yeah.
Like this, as bad as this show was, I think it did Vader pretty well.
Yeah.
That is similar. I did the town.
Yeah.
The town
that's
one.
great
I thought that was a bit more Vader-esque because the other one probably would have had Vader full, just because he doesn't care about the Inquisitors and the comics and stuff. He would have just killed her then and there without even hearing the explanation. But doing it to the random civilians just to weed him out was very vile and something I like to see from Vader. And that's really it because the rest of the show is good.
Let's get away from Obi-Wan because it wasn't a very good show. But Boba Fett.
Interesting. Yep.
Do you want to go?
Yep. Disappointing Book of Boba Fett. Check out
the video.
Yeah, check it out. There's a couple. I would like to say because I got a couple because one of them's not related to Boba Fett, so I'll say it first. Mando using the Darksaber. Best scene, I reckon, from Mando doing something himself, showing how he's kind of angry and kind of really wanting kind of that Grogu back. He's really kind of just more ruthless with what he's trying to, his bounty hunts just to get where he wants to go. But I really, really like Boba, the shot with Boba riding the Rancor. I thought I didn't really like that whole final battle, but I really liked seeing the camera pan up to just Boba just absolutely riding that and just taking over. It was really cool.
I've got an opinion about the whole Rancor situation. The first time we hear it is with Danny Trejo's character, and he's like, Boba's like, "Can you teach me to ride it like a bantha?" And then the next time we see the Rancor, Boba's riding it. So clearly, in the time that the Mandalorian stuff happened,
he was just practicing.
He was practicing riding the Rancor, which I feel like would have been cool to see. Not gonna lie, and we didn't get it.
But we got down the bantha, so
like a bantha.
But yeah, I thought that was a really good shot,
it is
and
a good shot.
One that sticks with me when I do think of Boba, even though I don't like that show really at all. So yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it's better than Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's so bad.
Obi-Wan is so bad. The last 2 episodes of Obi-Wan just stepped it up for me. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was better than a lot of... I think there's moments from Boba that are better.
Yeah, okay.
But, man, that gang with the speeder bikes.
That's
so bad. That's probably the worst thing ever implemented in the Star Wars. Like, even worse than the helmet slap from...
I don't know. That's bad.
I don't know. Baseball, maybe baseball's worse.
Baseball's
probably worse. That's probably worse.
But seeing
them go... Like, they're acting like they're going so fast. It's so slow. And they're brightly coloured. Doesn't suit it at all. Just horrendous.
Mine was, I think, again, another well-regarded part of the show, as opposed to some of the other things, is the Tusken Raider flashbacks. And seeing the dynamic with Boba Fett and kind of learning the ways of the Tusken Raiders as opposed to just having them as, well, quoted as sand people who just kind of fire upon outsiders. So I thought that was a lot of fun. We got to see kind of their culture, and I honestly found it a bit more interesting than the rest of the actual show, which is sad because, well, it shouldn't have been the best part, but it was. So there you go.
Yeah, valid.
Yeah. We've got 2 shows
Two
left.
left, yep.
Which one would we like to...
Do we save Ahsoka
Let's-
last?
Let's do Mando first.
Yep,
Let's do
alright.
Mando first, yeah.
I'm going to do it first because I don't want anyone else to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I beat you guys to it.
Valid.
This was my most shocking moment and the one that really surprised me the most and the one where I'm like, oh man, this show's really stepping up. It is... I don't know if it's the... No, it's not the last scene of season 1. Moff Gideon emerging from the TIE fighter with the Darksaber.
Second last.
Mm-hmm. Holy moly, that gave me goosebumps.
good,
I'm like, first Darksaber...
Oh
like,
wait, no,
and
Dark.
lightsaber?
Oh, that's the final. That's the final.
Yeah,
fight.
okay,
when
yeah.
he has the dark side.
Yeah.
I thought you meant when he's first
Yeah, no,
coming
no,
out.
no.
Yeah.
And then he stands on top of the TIE fighter with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that was so good.
yes.
That was so
That
good.
is Moff Gideon. That's prime Moff Gideon.
Season 1 and 2, Moff Gideon were really good in my
yeah.
opinion.
Yep.
Yes.
So it was...
Yep. Anyway, that's...
Yeah.
I hope I didn't take your guys' ones.
No,
Actually, you didn't. Yeah.
Good.
Surprising, because Moff Gideon I would always love to mention as my favourite, and I didn't even write him down in this at all. So,
Damn.
but my obvious one is Luke showing up.
Yeah.
Seeing Prime Luke as someone who was so angry.
Thank
with,
you for calling him Prime Luke.
Yeah, Prime Luke. So angry with seeing him in the movies was unreal. And honorable mention, I know you're not going to have it, so I'm going to say it. I mean, if you do have it, man of culture, is the opening Mando scene in season 1 where he's going for the bounty that we first see and he pulls that guy through the door and then he gets the blue guy. Just so cool.
Yeah.
Set the tone perfectly for the show, in my opinion. And that was the prime reason why I love Mando. Just doing his job, doesn't care about anyone else. That's what I loved. I loved it so much.
I was going to mention season 1 and 2 obviously were the better parts of the show, and season 1, I feel like season 1 I could almost say is one of my favourites.
It's probably
There's
my
so
favourite,
many good bits about the show, like I spoke a few weeks ago with the Bill Burr episode where they're still in the Imperial base. That's a great moment. One of my favourite scenes is when
Until season 2, but he was,
when Mando first finds Grogu.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The first or second
That's a good
episode.
reveal as
That was
well.
the end of the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
that was
think
great
it
reveal.
That episode
Like, what a
was very
scene. Like, I did have just as, in general, Grogu as a character, but that scene in particular, but
It's like
I
18.
feel like Grogu, he was such an important part in especially season 1 and 2, but I feel like he got sidelined kind of in
I reckon he
season 3.
needed to stay longer with Luke too.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
And just, I love how like Mando became protective of him and you know the little squeaks that he makes, the Force.
Yeah, it's very
you know,
cute.
The fact that he can use the Force.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my favourite part of the show. And just as you said, going and doing bounties, kind of the Western thing. It started out, as everyone knows, as kind of a Western thing.
Yep.
But I feel like it kind of drifted away from that.
They did a little bit. Yep.
Yeah.
So that earlier Mando probably the better.
Yep.
That's probably what I'd say is my favourite.
100%.
Definitely.
I've got this. I'm just going to mention, guys. Since maybe the Rise of Skywalker, I have been in my head as I'm listening to you guys. I have been playing Balin's theme in my head over and over again. Doom. So I've been thinking of that because my favourite scene was actually Balin versus Ahsoka before the flashback
Oh,
episode.
yeah, that was great.
Oh,
Because
episode 4.
Cetos, your
Episode 4,
favourite.
Cetos. Yep. Not the whole episode, just...
Yeah.
Well, the whole episode actually probably overall was because it had so much action and stuff. But, I keep replaying when he goes into the lightsaber and you just hear his theme intensify and it really just shows his dominance and how strong of a character he is. And goosebumps again, even thinking about it. Because I already know you guys are maybe going to mention, obviously, the next episode after because that was so perfect. But I just have to mention that was so good. I loved it so much.
Nice.
So that's mine for Ahsoka.
It's been a long journey. We're finally at the last project.
Yeah.
So, I think I have to say, as you mentioned, episode 5 was the best episode of Ahsoka by far.
Unreal.
Seeing Hayden Christensen back as Anakin, seeing even as Darth Vader.
Yeah.
The live action Clone Wars was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, cameo of Rex.
Yeah.
What more could we want than some lightsaber
He looked really
fights?
good, by the way. Really good.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
And even some lightsaber fighting. The challenges, the mental or ethical challenges with Ahsoka.
Yep.
Even when she was young, she was saying, "Is this loss of life really worth?
Yeah.
Is it really?
We're not keepers
really
of the,
worth?
Yeah,
we're not keepers. We're not keepers of the peace.
No,
we're
we are
soldiers.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just episode 5 itself was just my favourite
Very
moment
good.
of the show. So.
Yeah.
All right, I've been entrusted to finish
Yep.
the best moments. If you've enjoyed the video thus far and you're still listening, give us a like and a subscribe.
Congratulations if you made it this far.
Yeah. And we hope you've enjoyed it. And if you want more content like this, obviously subscribe and notification bell, and you'll get more videos from us. My favourite moment from Ahsoka is not from episode 5, is not from episode 4. It is from episode 6. No.
Ooh.
It is... And this is very obscure. This is not something that I don't think you guys would ever pick in your life.
Probably not.
But I appreciate it because of what I've been through with Star Wars. Balin's take and acknowledgement of the treacherous cycle between the Jedi and the Sith.
I love that bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
I thought you were going to mention something with Ezra.
No, I just think that this is the first time we've heard it from
the
perspective of someone in the middle who's trapped in the middle, who just doesn't want to see this war keep going around. One person takes over, then the other, then the next, and it just keeps going around. I love writing about it because I think it's such an ethical dilemma. Like, how do you prevent that? But just hearing Balin finally acknowledge it, and obviously he's got a plan to try and stop that,
which
we're not going to find out.
Maybe.
I really do appreciate that, and although it's not like the action fast-paced stuff like Anakin versus Ahsoka or whatever, I just think from a character standpoint and from a galaxy standpoint and from my viewpoint, I think it was just perfectly written.
100%.
And Balin overall.
Yeah, Balin as a character, he needs his own mention.
But this moment in particular really grabbed my attention. So
100%.
I would easily watch a show all about Balin.
Everyone any day of the week. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well done, guys. We've made it to the end.
Made it to the end. Wow.
So 20 projects and quite a lot of different scenes.
Quite a lot of discussions.
Yeah. Like I said, subscribe if you do enjoy this. Thanks to Ben and Keita, our patrons, as usual. They are always very supportive of us. If you'd like to join them as our patrons, go to the link in our Instagram bio. All our social medias are at Coruscant Knights. A big thank you from Mark and I to everyone who checked out our recent video on when we played Star Wars Battlefront from 2015. We had a lot of fun making it and had a lot of fun moments in that. So we do appreciate all the support and the people who liked the video. It was really great.
And rip not having Battlefront on my PlayStation since I transferred over from Xbox. So I don't have any of that. But it was good watch, and I think it was already kind of discussed that we probably want to do more gaming videos anyway, and more throwback retro ones, even like the Lego Complete Saga and stuff.
That would be great.
It'd be fun to do. So stay tuned.
Do you guys have anything else you want to mention?
Nope.
No, just thanks everyone for watching and listening.
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll catch you next week for the final podcast of the year.
Ooh, thanks guys.
See you
later.